I mentioned how there's sort of a cyclical nature to the time periods that I end up replaying different video games, usually 1, 2, 3 years, something like that. And I mentioned how Half-Life 2 is one of the exceptions where it hasn't, it's probably been like 5 years since I last, even played it. Like, just messing around in the normal campaign with cheat codes, even. But another game I don't play that often, and what I've been thinking about lately, is Sin Episodes Emergence. And I started thinking about that just as a byproduct of everything else, because I was playing with a, Hammer editor for Half-Life 2, and, I don't ever remember everything, so yeah, I have to kind of consult the wiki here and there. I start, going on this trip where I'm just reading all the wiki pages, because even if I've read them before, I always revisit old information, because even just being in a different mindset can make something just kind of click with information you've technically already seen before. But also, the wiki pages will change from time to time. But, I also just like reading for its own sake. So I've been on a trip of, reading pretty much every, developer wiki or Combine over wiki page on different stuff related to Source Engine games. And a big part of that for me, because I've been thinking about it a lot, are Source Engine branches. And, I've been thinking about Sin Episodes Emergence. I'm probably going to replay it again soon. It's one of those ones I don't play that often, maybe every, 4 or 5 years, sort of like Half-Life 2 itself. But with Sin, it's for different reasons. It's more technical issues, because the game is, it hasn't been updated since it came out pretty much. And it's not necessarily a flaw with the game, it's just getting it running on modern systems can be kind of a pain in the ass. But because I've been talking about all the, I call it stop updating games, that's my initiative. Just the data preservation stuff. I was looking into all the different engine branches, mostly just because I didn't even realize I had Anniversary Edition yet. Until I started fucking with Hammer again, and I noticed I had a folder called HL2 Complete. And, I eventually noticed as well that, the game, even if I select Half-Life 2 specifically, it launches in the, all games, pick the one you want mode. And then I was watching something about, Source Engine on YouTube, and they were talking about bicubic light maps. And I was like, that's not in Half-Life 2. But they showed the console variable, and I went and tried it, and it's like, oh, they did put that in. I thought at first they were just mistaken, because bicubic light maps and just, bicubic in general is something I've wanted for 20 plus years in video games. The way they did it is weird, but, whatever. As a result of all the issues with, Gold Source and Source 1 build numbers, engine revisions, engine branches, whatever, I've been reading all about that stuff. And something I read about, a minute ago was that apparently, even though Source has support for it, even to this day, Sin Episodes Emergence is the only Source game that actually supports the readout on the Logitech G15 keyboard. I'm pretty sure that's the keyboard I'm thinking of, and if it is, then that's what I had back in 2004. 2004 to 2006-ish. I think it worked in Half-Life 2 as well. If it's the keyboard I'm thinking of, back in that era, that was what I had. I had a Logitech G15 keyboard. Whatever it was, it had this little flip-up, display and multimedia controls. And, for games that supported it, it would show, like your ammo count and this and that bullshit. I swear I remember using it for Half-Life 2. But according to the wiki, only Source only Sin supports it. I mean, maybe that's the case now since maybe they removed it in the newer revisions that the other games got updated to. I don't know. But I had that Logitech keyboard and then Logitech MX518 gaming mouse with it had the two thumb buttons and it had like dents in it, I guess to look like pock marks of bullet holes or whatever because you're like a gamer or whatever. Which I thought that thing was so cool at the time. Nowadays, it probably wouldn't pass as a gaming mouse because I'm pretty sure it had angle snapping. But it had adjustable DPI, I believe. Or no, actually, I don't think it worked by default. I don't know. But either way, I was like, holy fuck, I totally forgot about that shit. There's so much about the Source Engine stuff and Half-Life 2, Descendant games and mods and just games in general that it's like, there's so much to remember that I'll forget about shit all the time. It's like it's probably tucked away in my memory somewhere, but I have to read something to reinvigorate it. And on the topic of Sin Episodes Emergence, I always get the game companies Rogue, Ritual, and Relic mixed up in my head, right? It's like, three game companies, it's like game companies that, companies that start with the letter R and make video games. And it's like, now I'm fucked, right? It's like, I always mix up shit like that on that basis, right? Or just by comparison, like, Raven Software and, Gray Matter Studios, formerly Zatrix. I get them mixed up just due to, they both made, similar kinds of games on, Quake 3 or just Quake engines in general. But Ritual is the one that made Sin Episodes Emergence and the original Sin. And apparently they also had a hand in the making of, you know, Condition Zero deleted scenes. But so did another company called Rogue. And I always get them mixed up. And so, I'll see stuff where it's like Rogue's contribution was thrown out and Gearbox started over. And I was like, wait, what? How? But it's because I get them mixed up. But, speaking of that, if you go play Condition Zero, specifically the level Rise Hard, and, the gigantic skyscraper level, and then you compare that to a lot of the stuff in, like the skyscraper bit, going through the office cubicles kind of areas in Sin Episodes Emergence, you'll notice a lot of similarity. And, it's like, I love how the feeling of Ritual is, like, built into that. It's like, I love the original Sin. I didn't play it till after Sin Episodes Emergence. I had heard about Sin, but I got Sin Episodes Emergence when it was very first available on Steam, and I'm pretty sure it came with the original Sin as part of the the purchase. And I thought that game was pretty cool. And looking at the engine branches, or even like the page specifically for Sin Episodes on Valve Developer Wiki, one of the screenshots they have is of this like kind of like sky bridge on like a skyscraper type of area. And when I look at that screenshot, it reminds me, the chunky kind of brushwork and just the overall texture, design, and art style reminds me so fucking much of, playing those games for the first time back in the day. I love Condition Zero deleted scenes. I don't care what anyone else has to say about it. I love Sin Episodes Emergence. And I kind of wish that the episodic gaming stuff had worked out. Not because I agreed with it necessarily, but because I wanted to be able to see more of the Sin episodes, get to just be able to play, more of that. Because I enjoyed it. And it kind of sucks. The episodic thing, it really didn't work out, right? That was supposed to be the future. Like Unreal Tournament had tried this sort of like FIFA, whatever type of, create a new game every year, right? Unreal Tournament 2003 and 2004. And they gave up on that shit. uh, Valve, and then Valve pushes this episodic stuff, and back in that era, you can find games on Steam even now with episodes in their name, right? But nowadays they've got their subscription service, like microtransaction DLC bullshit, so I don't really have to worry about it anymore. But Sin episodes came out at that time when that was the meme, and I kind of wish that hadn't happened, or it at least kept going. And I guess more importantly, I wish Sin episodes had been more successful. But I don't know if it was because of Sin episodes itself, but Ritual ended up shutting down. And it's like, fuck, I wish I could have had more of that. But playing Sin episodes now, that is, due to the fact that it's the company that made it doesn't exist anymore. It's essentially abandonware. It might be the only remaining example of, like an older version of Source Engine. And it's not even like the 2004 era either. It's, the 06 version. So it predates the orange box, which that's when they really started to fuck up a lot of shit. But, I mean, unless they've updated it on Steam as well, it's from the old school era of having gcfs and all that, for the file storage format or whatever instead of VPK. And when you play that, the graphics and the physics and just how the game functions gives you an insight into how Source Engine used to work. And yeah, I like that game a lot. I haven't checked. I wonder if there's any mods where people have tried expanding on the story. But, all those games back in the day, I used to love having them just to make levels kind of inspired by them, right? Like, when I got Portal, I made custom Portal maps, Left 4 Dead. When I got Team Fortress 2, again in 2007, because I paid for it, In fact, it was 15 years ago this month that they made it free to play, after I fucking paid money for it in 2007 via the orange box. But either way, even Team Fortress 2 is way different now, to where Valve Developer Wiki even says, like, dude, what the recommended specs used to be can't even run the fucking game now. And I love how they'll take a game that could run on a potato 15 years ago and make it like barely run on modern, high-end hardware. Just the fucking, the bloat of modern code or whatever. But one of the reasons I like Team Fortress 2 back in the day, when it first came out and it actually had a distinct art style before they fucked it up with hack crates, I liked using the engine to, use the textures to make my own little custom Team Fortress 2 type of stuff, and, make stuff with a little more of a cartoony art style, more sort of, exaggerated. Like, games like Jak and Daxter, or like, Sly Cooper, shit like that of like the PS2 era, where it's got like the kind of exaggerated contours to everything and a very, very expressive art style. I like doing that with Team Fortress 2. I know for a fact I still have my orange box discs. In fact, I still have my disc for Sin Episodes Emergence, because I bought it as the disc version and unlocked it on Steam. Maybe I'll go do that. I'll replay Sin Episodes Emergence and fuck with its hammer edit or something. But yeah, I totally forgot about the fucking Logitech keyboard. That, it would display your ammo and shit like that. And I might fuck a little bit more with Counter-Strike Source, because I've been messing with the older, one, CS betas with the retail Half-Life install I got. I like just looking at all the different versions and comparing them. I just think it's cool to see how stuff changes over time, for better or worse. It's like with music. Grindcore bands will have 1,000 versions of a song, and I just like hearing the differences. But I'm at 15 minutes, so that's the end of this video.